let's talk a little bit about controlling anger to help your health. Now, we know anger is a very powerful emotion that can drive you to make positive changes. However, it is also a very powerful emotion that can be destructive to your health and to those closest around you. If anger goes on for a long, long period of time, boy, those things that can be observed in your health can be high blood pressure or high tension, headaches. It can lead to stomach upset or acid reflux, or it can even lead to anxiety or depression.
Well, we got to get a hold of it, right? Because, I mean, you mentioned at the top, anger is a natural emotion.
It is.
The Bible says, be angry and sin not, or don't let the sun go down in your anger. Just translated like this into, layman's terms, it's okay to be angry as long as your anger doesn't have you. And then it's also important to not go to bed or close the day out if you're angry at someone, especially. It's okay to be angry about a situation sometimes because, like in today's world, there are people that are very frustrated with things. But when it progresses to anger, it can progress to control not just your emotions, but it can cause a counter effect on your health. And that's not what you want.
No, so the first thing we have to do is we have to learn to recognize whether or not anger is present.
Yeah.
And if anger really is present, then we have to think about ways to control it. If you recognize that it's there, perhaps the first thing to do would be to go walk around the block and take some deep breaths to calm that sympathetic nervous system or that fight or flight, because adrenaline is just rushing through your
Yep.
system. And that's what's causing all those negative side effects from high blood pressure, headaches, anxiety, and the like.
Yeah, this is what remember our book, Fork Your Diet?
I
We on
do.
the cover of
What a
that
great
book, you
book that
guys can see
is.
that, it says "Stop Falling for the Frauds." Frauds is an acronym, and the acronym is fear, resentment, anger,
Anger.
unforgiveness, disappointment, and shame. So those frauds are all tied, sort of connected at the hip, if you will, with anger, and they sort of steal your identity. I mean, there's probably not anybody listening that's listening right now that hasn't either heard someone say this or said it themselves. I don't know who I am anymore, or because of this, I've lost my identity, or my anger has caused me to lose or forget who I am. Those type of things really do happen. We lose who we are when we allow anger or some of these other emotions to control us.
That's right. So once we identify that anchor is there and we go out and take a walk around the block to figure out why are we angry and we get to the root of the problem, oftentimes it's a particular person that's giving us, it has pushed us over the edge. What are some tips that people can do when they identify that they're having difficulty dealing with a difficult person?
All right, so remember this. This is number one, and I do this a lot when I'm in the office talking to people. It's going to sound weird. Some of you might have been there, and you see me do this. I'll put my hands right here on my belly, just like this, and I will do what's called diaphragmatic breathing, which actually will slow your heart rate. And I try to keep my heart rate down when I'm talking to somebody in the 70s, low 70s. What I try to do as a max. So I'm actually watching it on my little watch here, but I'll put my hands on my belly and I'll do diaphragmatic breathing. What is that? I'm going to push the breath down. So when I inhale, my stomach comes out. My shoulders don't come up. And when I exhale,
Just how far does that stomach come out?
a long ways. If you're good at it, you can push that abdominal muscle out. You can even force yourself to have a quasi-looking beer belly by diaphragmatic breathing. No,
Heavens.
I'm just kidding about that. So you can push it out, push it in. So if you keep your hands here, and you can even do that at night if you want to help yourself sleep, you can put a book here and try to raise the book up and raise the book down. I guarantee you it will slow the heart rate down. It will slow you from a stress response to a non-stress response, and your ability to feel the anger will also go down. You might be a little agitated still, but your ability to sort of become full-blown angry will go down.
That's why going for a walk
Mhm.
can be so helpful, is walking makes you breathe a little harder, or not harder, or
Does.
breathe more than what you would be just sitting in a chair. So
Yeah.
breathing actually calms down that fight or flight, and it increases the rest and relax, or the parasympathetic side of the nervous system. So
Yep.
breathing is a good way. What about somebody finding an advocate or somebody that you can talk to about maybe learning to express your anger differently?
It's called a vent, right? Everybody needs to vent sometimes, and it's okay. And with that said, the greatest thing you can do, like I was reading a devotional just yesterday, I think, on venting, and it was tied to sort of God allowing us to vent to him. Well, that's true. We can. If you want to yell at him, you can. I'm sure he can take that. If you want to vent, he can take that too. But the greatest thing that we can do to that is be the person that people can vent to, or they can get heard. People want to get heard. So I think it goes down to having someone to be able to talk to bring some a little bit of calm into your life. And I learned this in police work a lot too. When somebody was angry, if you'll lower your voice down a little bit in the middle of them talking loud, they will match you. But if you elevate your voice over them, they will match you. So you actually can control the conversation a little bit, even in your own life, by controlling the tempo of how you speak and the level of how you speak and the tone of how you speak. It's kind of called verbal judo, if you will, but it's actually verbally controlling a situation. And you can do that with yourself, or you can do it with other people.
Yeah, so anger is a normal emotion. It's not a bad thing.
Mhm.
We need to understand the triggers, what's triggering that anger so it doesn't become explosive and destructive. So we can control those long-term health effects that it may have: high blood pressure, anxiety, insomnia, bitterness, and the list goes on. Because oftentimes it's not necessarily what you're eating, it's what's eating you. And those tips about how to manage anger, you got to recognize that it's there. Go for a walk, change your breathing, change that sympathetic tone and calm it down, and maybe even find somebody that you can confide in to help you walk through a difficult situation and maybe approach a difficult person differently.
Maybe look at it like this: ABCs. Admit you got it, admit you have it. B, believe you can change it. And C, commit to do that, right? That's very important to think about, because anger can control you if you don't control it, correct?
Absolutely. And then in terms of supplementation, there's a couple things you can take to kind of calm the internal system. One is simple magnesium.
Yeah.
Magnesium kind of calms that internal fire, can calm the brain down, and so can GABA.
So there you go. There's some supplements, there's some tips for you to help you and all of us not be angry people, because we know anger is not good for the world when it controls the world. So we need to bring some calm. How about us make a commitment to be a little more calm?
And when you navigate through these economies with people, here's what happens. We want to hold their hand through it, let them know when it's time to buy, sell, reallocate, get out of Dodge. Because a lot of times when you're struck with fear does two things. Number one, it can paralyze, and people just put their head in the sand and say, I'm just going to forget about it and hopefully it gets better. Or it causes you to make a wrong decision. And this is why we are here, is to help people navigate through the political quagmire nonsense that's going on, the economic malaise, and the absolute collapse that we're seeing. And when our freedoms are eroding, our political freedoms, our economic freedoms, our personal freedoms, our religious freedoms, our health freedoms, they're all tied together. But you know what doesn't need to erode with that? Our finances.
KirkElliottPhD.com/Sherwood.
Hey friends, you already know the answer to this, but we'll ask you anyway. If you stay away from your favorite junk food for a month and then go back to supersizing it, will your health improve?
Well, that's the thing about change. To change, we have to be as consistent as possible.
And when we go back to an old habit, it's not the end of the world. We just get back at the new habit.
Before you know it, real transformation is evident to you and others.
That's why we offer a bunch of helpful bonuses when you subscribe to Kingdom Fuel.
Kingdom Fuel is our complete nutritional meal shake.
It's the simple start to a transformed life, and we'll auto ship every month so you don't run out.
You'll receive 2 free shaker cups, free access to our video courses, and a monthly call with us filled with practical inspiration.
Just see the link below or on your screen and subscribe today.
The body's amazing at recovery, so you want to give it every chance, no matter what time it is. So in that context, no, it's certainly never too late. You're never too old to start trying to be healthy.
No matter where you are in terms of your health, that you can turn this around.
It's never too late to start a wellness
program, and it's never too late to reach your healthcare goals. There's an old adage, and I'm not sure where it came from, but I really do like it. And they say the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
We just want people to hang on to hope.
We are hope dealers. And if you are not paying attention to the 4 foundational pillars of health, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual, eventually it is going to catch up.
If we get all those 4 areas right, and we do it right, we see a dynamic occur in the middle called wellness, and that's where people get better. Their health is really going to return as a side effect of wellness.
What is